I love you. He wrote me a letter on his bus ride home. Starting with his signature self-deprecating humor, he wrote, "You somehow managed to look so much like my daughter. The Schactman family resemblance is very strong. And yet still you managed to be so beautiful." He implored me not to let adolescence shrink me. "Stand up and be proud," he wrote, warning that young women sometimes hide their intelligence to avoid drawing attention to themselves. "Never be embarrassed by your ability to make just the right sentence with all of the exact words you wanted and needed." He praised my vocabulary and articulate speech and drew a comparison between language and his use of images as an artist, which would become even more valuable to me once I grew up and built a life around words. The more closely you look at something, the more likely it is that you'll be able to draw that something, and the more you draw, the better you see. Well, knowing how to use language accurately and well, and being able to take pleasure in it, means that your brain is always able to think more and more accurately and elegantly. And he apologized for how his heroin addiction had affected me. He never referred explicitly to drugs, but euphemistically to the stuff I've been going through. He'd recently been arrested and spent time in inpatient rehab. He could no longer hope I wouldn't notice. But he still couched it in gentle terms. To protect me or his dignity, I'm not sure. By the time that letter arrived, he was dead. Those last words of fatherly praise and advice became as precious as Moses' tablets. Words from beyond. All there would ever be. When my father died, I knew he was clean because he'd told me over the phone that he was healthy and doing really well, and I'd heard the lightness in his voice and known it was true. We'd made plans to camp under the redwoods in Northern California, and I knew his excitement wasn't just about this visit we were planning, but about his new start, finally off drugs. I knew, but all of the adults seemed to know just as surely that he'd died of an overdose. I could hear them whispering when they thought I wasn't paying attention, and I saw the way they looked at me, like I was about to get more bad news. I knew they thought I was in denial, that I couldn't understand such adult things. We had the funeral without proof either way, still waiting for the medical examiner's report. My father's friend Audrey had everyone over a couple of days before the funeral, to be together and mourn and drink and talk. I didn't like how everyone was looking at me, so I mostly hid in her bedroom, lying curled up like a cat on the pile of everyone's coats on the bed. I came out at one point, and as I stepped into the living room, I heard someone say in a loud whisper, "I mean, it had to be an overdose, right?" I was entering the room from behind them, and they hadn't seen me yet. I very quietly sidled up to the couch, leaning in until my face was just a few inches from theirs, and hissed, "It wasn't." I'd hardly spoken at all in the first hazy days since his death, and my voice came out dry and brittle. Everyone in the room looked up, realizing what had happened, wondering if this was the moment my quiet shock would shatter into torrential, raging grief. They all stared at me, waiting. I fled back into the bedroom to burrow into the pile of coats and cry, as much from anger as from grief. There was a collective sigh that said they still didn't believe me. The autopsy report came days or weeks later, confirming that there was no heroin in my father's blood when he died. My mother clutched it in both hands as she said the words, "It wasn't an overdose." I collapsed, sobbing with both of my palms and my forehead pressed into the floor like a child's pose in yoga, letting go of the weight of being the only one to defend him. Her breath was shaking as she pulled me up and into her arms, still holding the report tight in her fist, smudging it with her sweat and strain and relief. She'd been clean herself for 4 years by then, and I knew she wanted as badly as I did to believe that he hadn't been taken down by the monster that had chased them both for so long. But she also knew better than I did how easily it could have come back for him, even after he thought